Good morning, class. This is going to serve as your 29.2 lecture. It's not going to be real long. It'll be straightforward and to the point, and that's kind of why we decided to finish this chapter up before break. Anyways, let's get going. So, something to think about: why is the survey method an important way to collect information? And while you're thinking about that, also think about in what ways surveys can potentially be manipulated and how that data can be manipulated. And this will be an early point to pause, but we'll pause here and have a quick discussion, and let's talk as a class real quick. Okay. All right, and we're back. Let's keep going. Hope that conversation was worthwhile. Today, we're going to talk about designing a marketing research survey, which we've actually already done, and administering that, or where we would administer it. So the heart of the matter, researchers must create a survey that will provide both valid and reliable information needed to make good business decisions. And we'll get into what that means in a second. But in essence, if the survey is no good, it doesn't matter the information that we collect. We need to have a good, structured, unbiased survey so that we can get proper information and not necessarily the information we may want. So basic vocabulary here, and pretty short, and as usual, we'll go through it as we go along. So just a quick kind of graphic design or graphic way to look at designing a survey and how it all kind of wraps up and ties into conducting market research. And so there's two types of questions that we ask, and they are both vocab words, but they're open-ended and forced choice. And we'll go into more details of those in a second. And then there are essentially multiple ways to ask forced choice questions. So two choices, yes or no. Rating scales, right? Do you strongly agree? Agree. Neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Those types of questions are rating scales. Or it could be a 1 to 5, 1 to 10 rating scale. You have multiple choice and then level of agreement. And I guess a better way, not rating scale, but what I said with strongly agree and disagree, that's a level of agreement. Below that, you have your guidelines for writing questions and administering them, and then you might have some form of incentive to take the survey, or it might be in person, and we're all tying it all together back into conducting actual marketing research. So two big words here, and they are validity and reliability. So your formal definitions of both of these, make sure you have them. When the questions in a questionnaire measure what was intended to be measured, the quality of being logically valid or effective. So validity is just, we're asking questions about what we intend to find out. And that is the most logical way to ask about it. If we want to find out about whether or not kids vape, are we legitimately asking those types of questions, or are we asking questions about football, right? Well, if we're asking questions, getting data about football, we're not finding out the right information. Reliability here is when research technique produces nearly identical results in repeated trials. The trait is of being dependable. So our questions are fair and unbiased, and we can take them from place to place, and our results are fairly similar and accurate. We know that our work is reliable at that point. And that is half of our vocabulary done. The other two words, forced choice and open-ended questions. So a first choice question is a question that asks respondents to choose an answer from possibilities given on a questionnaire. So we are giving the answers just like we take tests, and most of the questions we take on a test are forced choice questions, where I give you A, B, C, or D, and you have to pick a choice. That also would include true or false. Open-ended questions, we also have tests with open-ended questions, right? Those are our short answer questions. They require more than a yes or no. Some kind of thought process goes into them, and it's the same way with surveys. Surveys that have open-ended questions are looking for the more than just the multiple choice answers that we could put down there. And I do have some examples. So, right, I'm satisfied with the investment my organization makes in education. And this is one of those level of agreement questions that we kind of talked about briefly a minute ago. And however you answer, this is a forced choice question. However, what's the one thing we should change on this page? And this is referring to a page on a website. And you type your answer in here. It might be different for every person, and that is an open-ended question. All right. Details about formatting questionnaires. Okay. So here is just some information about how to format a survey. So obviously keep it good, clean, lots of white space so it's easy to read and understand. You might want to use different colors and typefaces. Black ink on white paper, once again, easy to read. Short enough to be answered quickly because everybody has time that they want respected. And distinct headings on all individual sections. Individual questions, number them obviously. And then if you need someone to go somewhere and you were doing a paper survey, you would obviously need them, hey, if you answered yes, go to this page, so on and so forth. However, we filter them through the survey. Vary the format between questions and options. I agree a lot with this question, so people don't get bored and they don't start just circling multiple answers or just someone that'll just draw a big line around. Strongly agree through like 5 or 6 questions. That's what you're looking to avoid. Clear directions for each section, screening questions if appropriate, and demographic questions if needed. Comments and suggestions if desired. So just general tips on formatting questionnaires and a lot of stuff that we have done automatically and or talked about when we created our survey. So 3 different ways to administer those surveys. And that includes mailing in surveys, email and web surveys, and then in-person surveys, or kind of what we call interviews. So mailed surveys should be well written, have some kind of hand-signed cover letter or a personalized letter if possible, send first-class mail, and then include the postage and return envelope if you want it back. Email and web surveys should be brief and to the point. Obviously, respondents are going to have to scroll through, but you kind of want to limit the amount of moving, limit the amount of graphics and animation, keep it really to the point if it's going to be a web survey. In-person surveys, you're probably going to want to include why this is going on, what's happening, and what the purpose is, what type of data you're trying to collect. And that's probably your opportunity to get more in depth if you were actually in or partaking in marketing research. It's when you can really ask someone how they feel and try and make opinions and decisions based on some of the context they give you. So, what technology is missing from this list that is more relevant than ever? And we all have one. And that will be the last question. That's where I'll stop. I'll let you guys talk about that one real quick. And that's it for chapter 29.